recording.
Oh.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. If you ask me to describe myself, I would probably say I'm loud, very loud. You know the kind of friend that you say like, oh, that one, that Cheryl, crazy one, very siao one. That's me. So, I was excited about everything. Quite a happy-go-lucky person. Compared to my sister, on the other hand, she is the angel. I'm the devil. That's what my mom always said. It's like my mom would say, if I have two of Mimi, I'll be so bored to death. But you have two of you, I book himself. But I'm also the one that makes friends with everyone. I can talk to babies, kids, adults, auntie, uncles, at the park, foreign workers, whoever. Looking back, I spent most of my childhood hearing different versions of the same sentence. You're too much. Too loud, too emotional, too energetic, too dramatic, too attention-seeking. I didn't know it then, but I would spend the next 20 years figuring out why I always felt different. So in 2006, everything changed. I was studying in poly, and two of my classmates passed away in a very horrific accident. I don't know if you know about it, but there's a couple that was on the train track, and then they got ran over by the train from RP. That was my classmate. So that guy is a very happy-go-lucky guy. He's the cool guy in the cohort, and then the girl is a friend of mine, but we had a little fallout just before she passed away, and we didn't, make it up. And then a couple of days later, I had another friend that his family was his family was about to migrate to Europe, but then it got pushed forward, I think 1 or 2 months earlier. So he left, I think 3 days afterwards. So we didn't get the chance to say goodbye even. So I don't think, the word grief, I didn't know what was it, right? But I knew something inside me changed. Then adulthood happened. I was in hospitality. I'm an F&B person. I'm a bartender, ex-bartender actually, and I love it. There must be some sort of passion inside when you work F&B, right? I've been in F&B for 20 over years. I love meeting new people, making friends. I was told by this auntie one day, if you cannot afford to travel the world, work in hospitality, because the world will travel to you. But then of course it came with another culture, drinking. I drank a lot, very young age, I could drink everyone under the table. Sounds very pro, right? So stupid, it's a waste of money. I wish I could have one drink and then get drunk. But then, this became a very unhealthy lifestyle, throughout adulthood and stuff like that. Okay, so let's fast forward. A few years later, I decided to move to Australia for my uni, and for the first time I felt normal there. I don't know why, because maybe the people there are a bit, free and easy and could express themselves. So I felt very comfortable in my own skin back then. So I worked part-time over there because my parents couldn't afford. They could only afford my tuition fee, and then the day-to-day expenses, allowance and all, it's all borne by me. I had to find a job myself, and I like that independence because for the first time I felt I could do it. I could live on my own. I could not rely on anyone. And then there was something that was really sad but relief at the same time. So, how many of you guys have your own room since primary school? Own room. Secondary school. So have you always been sharing a room? I think sharing a room is quite common. So same here, me as well. Until I went to uni in Australia, And then I was also sharing the room. But then because I failed one of my module, I had to stay back for one more trimester, where all my 3 other housemates left. And I had to move out of that house because obviously I couldn't rent the whole house. I moved out to get a room on my own. And then for the first time, I was alone. And I cried at night. It was so weird because since young, I'm always like, I want to have my own room. I want to have my own room. Then when I finally got my own room, I'm like, oh, this is fucking boring, man. Like, and then it's just silent, right? And then, Australia, after like 4 or 5 p.m., it's dead. So it was very different, And for the next couple of weeks, I kind of adjusted to it. And I kind of like it. I was like, this is what it meant to be recharged. To recover on your own, to meditate, be present with yourself. I didn't know what was that, right? Because I've always been with people, work with people, sleep with people, And it was a very different experience. So I was in school that time, and every time in school, I walked past a poster on mental health. And at that point of time, it was towards the end of my education, my end of my journey in Australia. I did my degree there, and then I took up another diploma because I didn't want to come back to Singapore. So I got 2 diplomas, fun fact. And at that point of time, when I knew that I was going back to Singapore because it was so hard to find a job, I was very depressed, very upset, and I, just got broken up, and I didn't want to go back to Singapore, and it was all this very depressing moment. And then when I keep seeing the poster, there's this, like, if you go to the toilet, I don't know, when you're in school, when you go to the toilet, there's this certain cubicle that you always go to. So if I go to the toilet, I always go like this one. Then I'll go this one. If this one not people, then I will, if this one has somebody, I will go to the other one. But without fail, I will go to this same cubicle, right? And there's always this mental health poster. So every time you sit there, right, then you use your phone, and you see mental health, depression. I didn't know I was having depression or not, but I knew it was like very sad lah. I think Singapore, you don't have the luxury of being depressed sometimes, because you're like, oh fuck it, man, I gotta work. I cannot be depressed if I sleep at home. Then I have no money. That's even more depressing. So you just have to, suck it up and go back to work. So I didn't know what was happening, but I eventually called the number, and that was my start to the mental health journey. So a few months later, I came back to Singapore. That was 2015. Coming back to Singapore was very depressing, of course. I had reverse culture shock. I didn't like it. I hated it. I was like, oh my god, there's no music scene that I like. I couldn't be my weird self. Everyone is, judging me. When I came back, my parents was like, why are you working in F&B still when you got a degree now? And it was very upsetting, right? Because it's like back to reality. And then when I came back to Singapore as well, because I was seeing a counselor back then in Australia, I was like, okay, let me go to see a polyclinic, see how it goes. And then I ended up, got diagnosed with depression and anxiety and a bit of bipolar traits and BPD and, like collecting mental health diagnoses like Pokemon cards like that. You got BPD? Yes, I have. This one? Anxiety? Yes, I have. Depression? Yes. What else? ADHD? Maybe. Actually, just 3 weeks ago, my psychiatrist that I've been seeing for 10 years told me that I might have ADHD. And I'm like, oh, no wonder. Then it all starts to make sense sometimes. I don't know whether I have or not, but I realize at the end of the day, it's okay. It doesn't matter if I have it or not, right? Because when I realized at the end of every journey, in Australia, back to Singapore, being married, having a baby now, these changes in our life is, you can't predict. There's no manual for it. Even now that I founded my faith. I'm a Muslim revert. I thought I had found enlightenment, but clearly not. But it was a compass of where I should move forward to. And until today, I don't even know what I'm doing. You ask me, what do you do? I'm like, before this poster was up, right? You know, we got to share our thing on LinkedIn and that poster. I put Cheryl Cho, Shira, because that's my Muslim name, and then I put entrepreneur slash comma SAHM. You know what that stands for, right? Stay at home mom. I had 6 people reach out to me. Is that a new company you started? I'm like, pretty much 24/7, right? So I'm actually doing a little project right now. I'm going to set up a global company called the Domestic Corporation. If you see that, please follow. And if you're a mom or a parent, please put it as your employer, because moms are crazy, right? And I'm also battling with all this crazy thing, and then now he's starting to walk, and then he's driving me crazy, and I myself is also driving myself crazy, and then the life is also driving us crazy. Long story short, at the end of the day, we're all still figuring out. You may do business today, you may go to work tomorrow, you may ask yourself, what am I doing? What's my purpose? And if you think that any speaker, any aspirational speaker here got a clue what they are doing, no, they don't. Because everyone is still figuring out. So just live your life. As long as you don't owe people money, you don't cheat people, you don't hurt people, you're happy, you're healthy. Most important, I think. Health is wealth. Healthy. I think anything else, just figure it out as life goes. I'm Cheryl, I'm 36 years old, and I'm still figuring out. Thank you for
Thank you.